Hey, what is up, everyone? Happy Thanksgiving. This is Zach, aka Keats39, here to bring you the second showdown on the Thanksgiving slate. Um, Probably the most fun game, definitely the highest total on the slate. Um, and there's a couple or one really big news decision that's really going to decide the slate. So it is hard to build early, but it's really easy to make. Like when the news is out, it'll be really easy to figure out where to go because we have a decent sample size without it. So gonna go ahead start right with the Dallas Cowboys. To me, it's really hard to fade both Dak and Zeke. Like I'm gonna do whatever I can to jam both these guys in. There's enough value where I feel fine doing it. Uh, the Raiders have not been very good as of late. Got smashed by the Bengals last week. Um, just a really good matchup for both these guys. Zeke probably being my favorite. I will say I'm a little nervous about his knee. I've played him back-to-back weeks in regular DraftKings, and he has left the game for in both those games for a knee injury. It says full participant. He's not on the injury report, but I still do worry a little bit on a short week, especially when you have a backup as good as Tony Pollard. I tell people all the time, I actually think Tony Pollard's a better running back than Zeke at this point. Definitely more explosive. Maybe can't handle the same type of workload that Zeke can, but I still want to see it happen. But yeah, Zeke in this matchup, they're giving up 132 yards a game rushing, which is ranked 29th. In a game that they're favored by 7.5. It's just perfect game flow. He's been catching passes really well as well. Sorry, that sounded weird. But yeah, definitely both these guys. Dak, I could if I'm fading one, it's probably Dak just on the because they are very limited on weapons. Missing definitely Cooper, possibly Gallup. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I mean, they only put up 5 last week in a sick matchup. I'm calling that a fluke. He's really, really good, especially for fantasy. He definitely has the highest floor or highest ceiling for sure. Honestly, probably highest floor in the slate as well. So yeah, I'm just gonna do whatever I can to get both these guys. Michael Gallup priced at 8.8, I think is just too high. We did see him get a ton of match or targets last week, 10 targets. 1 for 5 for 44, not exactly ideal. It's not a great matchup against the secondary of Dallas or against Vegas. It's not an awful one. I'm not like scared of it. Just if I'm paying 9K, especially if CD's in, I'm gonna do whatever I can to get CD. Like 8K is a joke of a price for him as well. And if he's gonna play, he's gonna be a full go. It's not like he has a knee injury. He was concussed. He's going through practice like he's good. So if he's cleared, he's going to be a full go. Don't really worry about him like leaving halfway through, re-injuring. It's not how concussions work. I mean, it can be, but if you're cleared, you're cleared. And 8K is a joke for price, especially with no Mark Cooper. So Gallup, I don't really have much interest in at all. But CD, I have a lot of interest in it. If he's in, even if CD's out, I don't have too much interest in Gallup. I'd rather just go like, because you can only play so many studs. Like I prefer these two 100%. I probably prefer Carr, Renfrow, Waller. They're all just better plays to me. Dalton Schultz, I do have a lot. Like I'm more interest on the main slate. I think it's a really good matchup, especially if CD misses. Like he's going to be the number one, maybe not number one, but the top 3 target for them. And he's just really good at this low A-dot stuff. He'll probably get peppered with targets, good in the red zone. Yeah, 7.6 is very tough to pay for him though. As a tight end, that's not like some super dominant guy. Like I usually don't pay that much unless it's like Kelsey or Waller or Kittle, something like that. But I think if CD's out, he is definitely very honestly he doesn't play either way. If CD's in, just more GPP, but he'll have low ownership probably. But yeah, definitely a smash play if CD's out. I do think Tony Pollard is at least in play in GPPs for this reason I mentioned on Zeke being on a short week, being banged up recently, and how talented he is, and them being 7.5 point favorites. Like they get up 14, maybe they just say let's give Zeke a rest. Teddy Pollard's a stud, so we'll just ride him the rest of the game. I think it's very possible. 7K is a lot to pay for a backup running back. He doesn't really have a backup running back role. Like, he's going to get touches for sure. But yeah, 7K is a lot to pay for like a cash type build on a guy like him. But I will have exposure in GPP, especially like he'll be a captain that I like in a GPP on the off chance that Zeke is banged up. Because his ceiling is so high. If Zeke were to leave a game in the first quarter, like, he will be the top scorer on the slate probably. Going on, Cedric Wilson. He's a guy I really like. Like, you see how good he was in college. He had a couple costly drops, which does scare me a little bit because I was watching that last game because my late lineup was really good and had him in it. And had a chance to get up really high. And Cedric Wilson dropped a very easy pass over the middle, and then he came out and never came back in that drive. I'm gonna guess that's nothing, but it's at least possible it's something. But yeah, if he's in play either way, like, I prefer him to Gallup, because he just has those little targets that are more dependable. But he'll play the slot either way. But if CD's in, he'll like play the slot some. And I'm gonna guess if you look at the snap count, it's kind of hard to tell because CD left after 54% of snaps. But he had 63% of the snaps last week. I think that if CD is in, he'll play in a slot a fair amount at least. And when he's in the slot, I don't really expect Cedric Wilson to play on the outside too much. So you could see like Noah Brown or Malik Turner come in and take snaps. So if CD's in, I don't have much interest in Cedric, but if he's out, I have a lot of interest. 5.4 is very, very payable. So obviously, like, yeah, I thought it was Greg Leg. When did he must got hurt earlier in the year and I didn't know? Yeah, Greg Leg, love Greg Leg. Probably top value from them. I think these two guys are worth darts if you're playing GPPs, but other than that, that's pretty much where I end on my Dallas exposure. Over to the Vegas side, Darren Waller, it's a very hefty price to pay. I do like Darren Waller a lot in the spot. In a game that they're losing and they don't exactly cover the tight end well. But 10.6 is hefty. I'd rather play with Carr. But in a build that if you captain a kicker, you can get all 4 of the studs, and I do like that. And they have an easy value play that I like for the showdown that I'll get to in a little bit. Obviously like Carr a lot. Renfro is one of my favorite plays on the slate. That I love those low dot targets in a matchup where they're 7.5 point dogs. I say it all the time. I've been saying all the time how much I love those low dot targets, especially in these types of games. But he's just been so good this year. Like, him versus CD is a very, very tough debate. I'd probably take CD, but just by a hair. It's kind of crazy. I didn't realize this. On main slate, CD is 6.9 and Renfro is 5.6, I believe. And on this slate, Renfro is more expensive than CD, 200 more. But yeah, I do really like Renfro here. Should throw a decent amount. So yeah, I like him. Josh Jacobs is very interesting. I didn't have much interest in Josh Jacobs like when I was like looking through the game, but then I opened up DK and he's 6.8. That is way too cheap for him, especially like, so last week, last 2 games, really worst of the worst type of game flow for Josh Jacobs. Like, he is if they're winning, he's going to play a ton of snaps. This game, the last 2 games, they weren't, and he's still getting 66% and 60% of the snaps. That is something that I like to see, and you see it in his production. He's got 7 targets, 5 targets, 4 targets. Like, he's getting a lot of targets this year, which, like, they said last year that they wanted it to happen, didn't necessarily happen that much. Like, he got targets, but when you're getting this many targets, like, that is like elite level targets for a running back. So it's not a great matchup, but like if they were to be winning, it'd be a great matchup. And even so, like if he's getting this 5 to 7 targets, like 6.8 is like way too cheap, especially like he's gonna get goal line carries. So I do really like Josh Jacobs on Showdown mostly only. I think Drake's worth a play in GPP in a scenario where they're trailing. He's played more since the firing of Gruden. So 4.8, I'd rather play a kicker, but in play. This is where it gets interesting. Brian Edwards is playing a crap ton of snaps, but he's just like a lot of dynasty guys like him, and I just really don't see it in him. Um, like he's very TD or bust. Like he shows moments of that he can be really good, but for how much they hype him up, his production has just not been good. And that's coming with Derek Carr being very good this year. Maybe not so much as the last two, but like even with all these fire games that Derek Carr has had, Brian Edwards has just not done very much with it. But I will say, playing 90% of snaps at 4.2 in a game that's with a high total, you could definitely do worse. He'll probably see Diggs, I guess, but I'm not scared of Diggs. He's not a guy I'm scared of. Like I think I saw the other day, he gives up the second most yards in coverage. So definitely worth it. Definitely a fine play. Like, but I'll take the kickers. But GPP, I like that upside. Guess we'll end with the two punt receivers. When you look at snaps, Deshaun Jackson 34%, Zay Jones 72%. That's just a lot of snaps for, again, like I said, in this type of game environment. And at these prices, 1.2 and 2.2, he's a very strong GPP punt. We all know how big or how explosive he can be. I prefer Zay Jones, just I'll take the extra snap count or snaps. But I will say that Deshaun Jackson has been there for 2 or 3 weeks now. So it's possible that with Zay Jones being so unproductive, that they just say, all right, you've been here, you know the playbook. You're a wide receiver 3 now. It's not out of the question, but I don't think that happens. I just think he's going to be like a package guy. They'll send him deep, hopefully connect on one, which is very possible. And if he does that, he crushes his 2.2 salary. But I just prefer the 1.2 for Zay Jones for extra snaps. And like even at 1.2, if he just gives you this, like he doesn't kill you. So yeah, so that's gonna do it. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe, and I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. Later, guys.